Hey everyone, it's Gil. Welcome to this week's cruise news, views and tips. And the topic of today is, so should I go on a cruise? Which is a question that faced us 14 years ago. And we've had a number of questions that I've had sent in to me over the last few weeks. So I've picked about 15 of these questions out to try and answer for you today, to try and help you decide whether a cruise is for you or not. First one is, will I get seasick? This is a really interesting one. So this is probably the most common one to get. People are worried about getting seasick. If you've got motion sickness, then possibly you are going to be susceptible to seasickness as well. Now, funny story, 14 years ago, first time I went on a cruise ship, on the Aurora. I think I said in my previous vlog, we went on a 3-week cruise across the Atlantic to the Caribbean and back. And what I didn't tell you was, within about 3 or 4 minutes of leaving Southampton into the Channel, my eldest daughter and I felt really sick. Yeah, it was quite embarrassing. So we literally ran to the shop where we bought something called Sea-Bands that we'd heard of at the time. And they're like acupressure bands. Puts a pressure point here which helps calm you, and they really worked for us. And over the next 3 weeks we had very little seasickness issues at all. We did have a 22 feet swell crossing the Atlantic, for which the Aurora captain said was the second biggest swell he'd had on the ship, I think, at the time. So, and it really was swaying. But I used the acupressure band and had a bit of ginger ale as well, which is also, ginger is also supposed to be quite good for calming seasickness. So we did that, and that went pretty well. We've been through some other rocky areas over time. The Bay of Biscay is notorious in Europe. It terrifies people when they hear the words the Bay of Biscay, and it can get quite bumpy. We've had some few bumpy times through there, but never really felt sick, although I have seen many people getting the bags out. But if it does affect you a lot, not only are there the Sea-Bands and the ginger products that you can take, or just simply lying down in your cabin, there is a doctor on board who can give you an injection, which for people who've had it said it's absolutely a game changer if you suffer from seasickness. So don't worry too much about it, because there are ways in which you can counter it. The other ways are, in terms of your planning, choosing a cabin which is maybe low down towards the centre of the ship. You should get less movement, but again, many of the modern cruise ships have very, very strong stability systems, and often you hardly feel a thing. But there are times, like the Bay of Biscay, like crossing the Atlantic, other parts of the world, where you will get some bumpy seas. And if motion sickness affects you, try one of those remedies. Certainly wouldn't let it put you off cruising. Give it a try. Will the kids have enough to do? There are so many activities on the ship for kids to do, from the sports court, where there's normally a football court, basketball, table tennis, to organised activities through the kids clubs. There's normally electronic games, like your video games, like your PlayStation games, Xbox, that kind of thing. There's so much. I mean, there's everything. Our kids have never been bored. They love cruising. I've got 2 older children now and 2 younger children, and they've all done many cruises. And one thing for sure they've never said is that they're bored. So there's loads to do. Will I have to pay for lots of extras on the cruise ship? Cruise is an all-inclusive holiday generally. So your food is all-inclusive. The holiday obviously is all-inclusive. Drinks generally are extra unless you've paid for the drinks package. Now, it can be, your extras bill can be as big or as little as you want it to be. First cruise we went on the Aurora, our bill when I got back was huge. I mean, it was about 17, or at least £1,700. The most recent cruise we did, it was about £100. So we took our own squash on and some fizzy drinks. We didn't drink that much. We had a bit of onboard credit. And so, yeah, it can be what you want it to be. Yes, there are trips that you can pay for, and the trips can be quite pricey. So if you're doing a lot of trips, yeah, you will pay a lot of extra money for that. There are specialty restaurants that you pay for. So there's a lot of things you can spend your money on, but you don't have to. It is an all-inclusive holiday. The ship's safe. The ships are incredibly safe. There's been very few major incidents, major accidents in recent years, and very few minor accidents as well. Yes, there have been incidents of people falling off. It can happen. You need to be careful on the outer decks, but it's very rare. And yes, there have sadly been a couple of major incidents in recent years, but again, it's incredibly rare. So yeah, the ships are incredibly safe. Do I have to get off at every port? No, you don't have to get off at every port. No, you can stay on the ship all the time if you want. And we often have, we enjoy sometimes the port days when people are off and we can have the ship kind of to ourselves when it's a bit quieter, particularly if it's ports that we've been to before. So no, you don't have to get off. And this links into another question we've had about, can you organise your own trips? Yes, of course you can. The only thing I would say is the cruise line operated trips are the only ones where you are absolutely guaranteed that they will wait for you, and if you organise your own privately, the ship will not necessarily wait for you, so you have to be back for boarding time. Or you may find the ship has gone and you've got to find your way on your own to the next port to catch up with the ship, so just be aware of that. But absolutely you can do your own trips. Of course there's taxi drivers at every port nearly that you go to, and local bus tours as well. There's often hop on hop off buses as well, the ho-ho buses in places like Barcelona. So yeah, of course you can do your own trip. Are the rooms big enough? Yeah, we hardly spend any time in our rooms. We often have an inside cabin because of that. And that can vary from 100 square feet to the one we've got in the RV is a couple of hundred square feet. But there are deluxe balcony cabins, there are suites which will often give you much bigger square footage as well. But my wife is really claustrophobic and never has an issue with the cabin. So yeah, they're big enough to get bed in, chair, there's a desk, TV, just like a normal hotel room in the UK. Probably a bit smaller than the hotel rooms that get in places like the US generally, but yeah, just an average hotel room size. I'm on my own, can I still cruise? Yeah, absolutely, and many people do, and in fact the cruise lines have solo get-togethers to try and help people kind of meet other people who are travelling on their own. So of course, yes. The only thing I would say is cost-wise, they don't often have solo rooms, so they're rooms that you generally have to pay a premium, a surcharge for, because there's only one of you rather than two in that room. So as a solo traveller you can fortunately end up paying a bit more for that. Can I get a sunbed? I've heard it's impossible to get a sunbed on a cruise ship. I've never had that problem on all the cruises we've been on, even on sunny days in the Caribbean. Yes, it can get very busy. Yes, in the kind of key areas, maybe next to the pools where families want to be by a family pool, there can be a struggle and people do get up early and take beds. But just ask and somebody will find, a member of staff will find you a bed. So we've never had that problem. It's certainly nothing like you see on some of the hotels in the Costas and places where people are kind of queuing up and charging for the beds in the morning. Never seen that before. But yeah, there are some pinch points, particularly sea days when it's really hot and nobody's off at port. So that's the days when maybe you need to think about it a little bit. Is there enough time to explore the destinations when you get off? Yes and no. Obviously, if you're going to stay somewhere for a week, you've got all that time to do many things. Whereas if you're there just for maybe 10 hours, then you've really got to plan it out, what you want to see, what you want to do. Now, the positive side of that is you will tend to pack more into that day than maybe you would in 3 or 4 days staying somewhere. So you can get a lot in. In Barcelona, for example, we did a panoramic tour on a bus around the city. We did a visit to the Nou Camp. We went to a restaurant, had drinks, went to, I think, the market area up Las Ramblas, and Amanda went bag shopping as well because she loves all the people selling the bags around the port there. So yeah, you can get an awful lot done in the time you're in port. So yes and no. Are there many food choices on the ship, or is it just main dining? No. it isn't just main dining. There are so many food choices. It is crazy. In fact, you will need, what we do now is we take what we call our beginning of cruise clothes, and we take some for the end, because by the end of the cruise you will probably have put a couple of inches on your waist and other areas. You will put weight on. On a 2-week cruise you could easily put 8-9 pounds on. The food is everywhere, all sorts of different choices, from Asian, Indian, Italian, French, traditional English. Again, depending on what cruise ship you're on, P&O is more traditional British cuisine. Princess, even when they're based over in the UK, is still geared more towards the American market. And if you're on something like MSC, it's a bit more Mediterranean, a bit more continental European type of cuisine, but there's something for everybody. There's many things included alongside the main dining, such as burgers and pizzas, sometimes an Italian restaurant as well. But then there's things that you pay extra for as well. So, for example, on the Arvia that we're going on in a few weeks, they have Sindhu, which is an Indian cuisine that you pay extra for, and there's also the Epicurean, which is very popular as well. So lots of different choices. Other question we've had is about the entertainment, and is there much entertainment? And I think, as I said with the children earlier, there is so much entertainment on the ship, from West End style theatre shows to headline singers that some have been on big reality shows like Your American Idol or X Factor in the UK. There's hypnotists, there's magicians, and there's all the organised activities. There's Zumba classes, there's exercise classes, there's deck coits on the more traditional ships. There is all sorts. There's mini golf tournaments. I mean, there's so much to do. You will never be bored. They even have cinemas on some of the ships, and of course on the bigger ships now, they've got water parks, they've got slides, they've got slides that go out the side of the ship, they've got skywalks, they've got high ropes, there's dodgems on the Navigator of the Seas, I think it is, or is it like the ice rink? There's ice rink, there's dodgems, there's all sorts of things on these ships now. Will I be okay with crowds on the ship? You know, that's never something that's bothered us. There's always somewhere you can go and sit quietly if you want to, which is fantastic. We've never found that an issue, and of course we've been on ships like the Aurora with 2,500 passengers, the Regal Princess with 4,000. We're going on the Arvia, which has just over 5,000. Of course, somebody like the Icon has over 10,000, but we've never found an issue finding anywhere to. Hey, well, I hope you enjoyed the vlog today. We've got lots more coming up. We're going to be going on the Arvia in a few weeks, so we're going to be doing a whole ship review of that, and also filming some of our adventures over there. So if you'd like to watch along, click subscribe, click the notification button, and then you won't miss any of that. But thanks for watching today, and I'll see you all soon. Carpe diem.